Hello, and welcome to the Tired Craftsman channel. I'm your host, the Tired Craftsman. This is my co-host, 22. We've actually been meaning to build him his own desk, but we haven't really gotten around to it yet. And that's because we've been busy with a new project, isn't that right? For the first video of 2026, we've decided to delve into a subject that is very familiar to my roommate and very unfamiliar to me, Warhammer 40K. It's like a video game or something. Well said, 22. But why would you bother making something from a property that you don't really know anything about, I hear you ask? Well, it all started a couple weeks ago on a nice quiet night. There I was, just sitting there minding my own business, when suddenly...
Hey, this other day I was watching this Warhammer 40K video on the commissars. It was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah?
Oh, dude, you'd love them. They shoot cowards in the back of the head who try to flee from battles. Yeah, dude, they're the feared political officers of the Astra Militarum who enforce discipline, morale, and unwavering loyalty to the Emperor. They possess the authority to execute anyone from common soldiers to commanders for heresy, incompetence, or cowardice. They're both inspirational figures and feared executioners in the military hierarchy. And they carry around these tiny little handheld rocket launchers called bolt pistols. Actually, dude, if you made one, I bet you'd get a lot of views.
Views, you say? Okay, yeah, tell me more about these commissars and their pistols.
I just did.
Well, that's how it happened. But enough talking. Let's get into how I made a Commissar bolt pistol from Warhammer 40K Q title card. Okay, so the first thing I gotta do is make a template. This is a big blocky prop, so I'm using a speed square to mark my lines. Lots of right angles on this thing, so it seemed like the appropriate tool for the job. Sure, I could have freehanded it, but it would have been bad. Also, I would like to address an issue that I ran into whilst choosing reference photos. When I googled bolt pistols, several different designs came up, and I don't really know which, if any, are considered the official one. I tried to narrow it down by searching Commissar bolt pistols, and I only found one photo of a Commissar holding one where I could make out details, so I'm basing this off of that. But I noticed that it had several differences from all of the other bolt pistols that I looked up, so if this isn't accurate, I apologize. As a very new initiate to the world of Warhammer 40k, I'm just trying to do the best I can for you. I'm sorry. Also, this thing is a pretty thick boy, so I glued 3 pieces of foam together for most of the parts, and then I traced each piece of the template onto them. And next I used a bandsaw to cut them out. You could totally cut through this with a craft knife too, but I wanted to be sure that I got nice 90-degree angles on the cuts, so this felt like the best guaranteed way for me to do that. And that worked out pretty well, so then I had to go and do the same process for the other pieces. Oh, and also I've been using contact cement to join all these pieces together. I don't think I mentioned that. Also, slightly off topic, but I did start to look into Warhammer 40k lore in preparation for this build, and though the Commissars didn't really grab me like they did my roommate, what did stand out to me was the Adeptus Mechanicus. Those crazy bastards are way more my speed. Yeah, believe it or not, I too resent my rotting meat form for being weak and impermanent. I definitely want to read up more on what they got going on. And who am I kidding? I'll watch some lore videos, I'd never read. But yeah, if this video generates any interest, then you can expect an Adeptus Mechanicus build of some kind in the near future. I guess, let me know if you want to see that down in the comments. Okay, that part's finally done. Now I'm going to shape the handle a bit. I'm going to grind a lot of material away, but to make that go a little faster, I'm first going to use the craft knife to carve some of it off. And then I'm going to take it to my belt sander. If you don't have access to a belt sander though, don't worry, a Dremel tool will work just as well. It might just take a little bit longer. Okay, now that that's done, let's go back to the other pieces we had cut out. A downside to using the bandsaw is that the cuts are a little rough on the surface, it's all frizzy and stuff. So to fix that, I glued some thin craft foam, I think it was 2mm or something, all over those surfaces. I glued pieces that were a little too big on purpose so that once I attached them, I could just cut the excess away and then everything fits together perfectly flush. Brilliant, I know, it's nice to be appreciated. And then I wanted to thicken it up a bit more, so I added some 4mm foam or something to the sides using the same technique that I had just described. And also this thing has several different layers going on across the surface, so I had to add additional layers of foam with parts cut out to achieve that sort of 3-dimensional look that it has. Was that a good way to put that? I don't know. To attach some of these pieces, I used Modpodge. If I had used contact cement, I would have had to be sure about my placement on the very first try as it sticks immediately, but with Modpodge, I'm afforded some wiggle room. And finally, I get to start adding all the fun bits that give it dimension. This is where the pistol's really going to start to look like something. Also, I misjudged the length of the magazine there, so I had to cut that and glue it back. But easy fix. And while this is my favorite part of the build, it also presents several opportunities to get things crooked. Which I did. But as the Grinch once said, we did our worst, and that's all that matters. But then he also did bail on his evil plan in the end, so maybe not someone I should take any lessons from. All I'm saying is if it were me, I'd have pushed that sled right off that cliff. I finished what I started. It's called conviction. And if you're still watching, I can tell that you do too. It's you and me against the world, kid. Now go get it done. After watching 3 more of my videos, of course. Unfortunately, not much to discuss in terms of technique in this part, just gluing stuff along the edges, trying to get it straight. I did use super glue for this part. I felt like that would go a bit faster because, with contact cement, you got to apply it to both surfaces that you're going to join, wait for it to dry. So this just, seemed more efficient. Plus, I've heard Bill making stuff mention on several occasions that craft foam takes super glue really well. Even though I hate using super glue because it's impossible to not get it on your hands every single time you use it, I'm going to take his advice and try it out. That could just be a me problem, though. I don't know, maybe every other crafter knows the secret to avoid getting it stuck to your fingers every time, and I'm just a child. But, I like to think you guys come here because you like me for me. So, it is what it is. Also, given the state of the world right now, I feel like I can't not acknowledge the sort of 1940s vibe that this two-headed eagle thing evokes. Of course, in Warhammer, I'm sure that this is a very specific logo that represents a specific thing, but I don't know anything about the lore, so, I just calls it like I sees it. But as I understand it from friends who are into it, all the factions are, kind of morally ambiguous, to put it gently. So, if there is an intended vibe from this, then I guess they nailed it. But anyway, the reason that I brought it up is that I thought all these details on it would make it hard to do, but then I remembered that I could just cut some shallow lines into the symbol, and then hit it with a heat gun, and then all of those lines will open up, and just like that, I have a fairly detailed two-headed eagle crest thing. I know that this is probably a very specific logo that everybody in the fandom knows exactly what it is, and they're probably freaking out on me watching this. I'm sorry, I don't know. Even though I'm doing a build related to the Commissars, I didn't really think they were that interesting, and I got caught up reading about the Adeptus Mechanicus because they were more my style, I do robot stuff, it made more sense that would appeal to me. It's not my fault! Next I had to make a barrel, and you are not gonna believe what I used to do at Morfoam. Get more of the 2 and 4mm, I think. Don't quote me on that. And also there's this other little rod thing above the barrel. I don't really know what the function is. Maybe it's for pressure to release, kind of. I don't know enough about guns or physics or anything like that. But I took a Nerf dart and I wrapped it in foam and just glued it right there, and that seemed to do just fine. Also, I needed a sight up top, so I made one and glued it on, and it's done. Or at least the construction is, anyway. Now I have to seal the foam before I paint it, and this time I decided to try giving it a layer of Modpodge first, and then give it a few coats of Plastidip, just to see how the finish turned out. I have a feeling this will make it look a bit smoother, we'll see. Yeah, turned out fine, I like it, and now it's time to paint. I am using acrylic paints for all of these detailed parts, and I'm going to have to give it a few coats to get rid of that streakiness. Painting all this onto a black base is not ideal, but we'll make it work. The version I based this on has a lot of gold trim, so I gotta go around this whole thing. And once that's finally done, I can do the best part, which is dry brushing some silver to make it look all worn and used. I'm told by my roommate that commissars are often very deep into the thick of battle, so this thing would be scratched up good. Now, some of you that are newer to crafting may be saying, TC, what the hell is dry brushing? How are you going to paint if the brush is dry? Now, I admit that the name is deceptive, but what dry brushing is when you take your brush, you dip it into some paint, and then you wipe off most of it, so there's just a little bit left, and then when you brush it across the surface, it puts a really light coloring of whatever paint you use, so it creates, like, weathering effects, and it can, like, help, like, edges pop, some of the details show up a bit more clearly, so just kind of like a light dusting, if you will. Does that make sense? I don't. Actually, I don't even know why I'm trying to explain this. The video is right there to provide visual aids that will help explain way better than I ever could. I was trying to share tips, and I didn't know how to say it, and now everybody saw, or heard, or whatever. Just watch what it does. And after that, I gave it a quick satin clear coat to protect the paint, and with that, I think we're going to call it done. So there you have it, a Commissar bolt pistol from Warhammer 40K. Thank you so much for watching the first Tired Craftsman video of 2026. Hopefully there'll be many more to come. I mean, I plan to, but death can come at any time. Hopefully that's not foreshadowing, but yeah, I plan to do more, so stay tuned. And if you enjoyed this video immensely, then consider becoming a patron. Link will be in the bio. But yeah, that's about it. Good night.